So welcome again, Amit. So I think Adit has given a very nice introduction about you, but it would be great if you can share a few words about yourself and how do you want people to what do you is there anything that Adit might have missed, and if you can just share two lines about yourself.
Thanks, Adit, for such kind words. You said it all. Uh, I'm Amit Malhotra, 25 plus years of experience in managing information security for several companies. And you also listed down all the names of the companies that I have worked for so far. And yeah, it has been a very enjoyable journey. My core expertise is into managing cybersecurity for several organizations, mainly product-based organizations. I've worked for the companies which are software based with finance background, and now working for an organization which is purely fintech. It has been a very exciting experience so far, and yeah, I'm an engineer by profession, and yeah, I thank you for inviting me into this call, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Back to you,
Awesome.
Sukant.
Yeah, great. So we'll just start from here. Amit, the very common question that that we have got from our community is, what exactly is information security? What do you do, and what all does it entail?
See, information security is a broader term which encompasses several things. I mean, you can include physical security into it, data security, and cloud security, endpoint security. So, think from that perspective. When you're working for an organization, you are working on at several layers. You are actually working in several domains. So, if you are a developer, then you're working on an application. If you're a simple user, then you're working on your laptop or any such system through which you log into your office network, and so on and so forth. Now, because of the cloud adoption, most of the workloads, applications that we are hosting our application on the cloud. We are keeping our data in the cloud. We are trying to move our applications onto the cloud. So all the aspects of performing business functions, business operation within an organization, we have to think about security. We are taking some kind of a risk when we are performing those business functions, business operations. So whenever we are taking some risk, we have to perform some kind of a risk management. That is where
Mhm.
the role of information security comes, or cybersecurity comes, and that is where my role comes. I have been the security officer for several organizations, where my responsibility has been to understand the business practices, understand where the risks are, and implement controls or countermeasures to mitigate those risks. So basically, I mean, if I were to explain for best understanding, we as security officer of the company, we try to understand what the business functions and business operations are for any particular organization. Then we try to identify the risk of performing those business functions, and we try to mitigate that risk. We try to bring that risk down to such a level that it becomes acceptable. There are several ways to do that. We can implement processes, we can implement procedures, we can implement company policies. At the same time, we can implement technologies also, which we call as
Mhm.
security controls and countermeasures, so that the risk that we are taking as an organization, or whichever organization, the risk that they are taking, that for doing the business, that risk can be reduced to an acceptable level.
Right. Great. So basically, it's more often, identifying a risk and then setting up the processes, the technology and the SOPs to mitigate those risks.
Absolutely. Information security is all about identifying the risk,
Mhm.
addressing those risks, mitigating those risks, and bringing it to the acceptable level. Now, whichever way that you want to lower the risk, whether it is by implementing a process, implementing some kind of a governance, risk management, or compliance related practices, or if you are trying to do, or you're trying to implement some technologies, ultimately what you're doing is you're trying to do risk management, trying to bring the risk down to a level where it becomes acceptable to the organization for
Right.
which you're working.
So, Amit, what has also happened, what I have also personally observed, that some of the young leaders in the information security space, they get very obsessed with, 100% risk mitigation or 100% risk control. And they start making false promises to the management, and they end up in a soup later. Because obviously, from what I understand, 100% risk mitigation is, I would say, that to the dream, right? But is it really possible?
No, if you are able to bring the risk down to 100, I mean, if you are able to mitigate 100%, first of all, there is nothing called as 100% risk mitigation as such, because you shall not be able to perform your business
Mhm.
if you don't take a risk. Because from the time that we have been working, if we were not if we didn't get onto internet to perform our business functions or business operations, or we were not selling things on internet, we would not have taken a risk. So when we say we want to mitigate 100% of the risk, that is a myth. We cannot do that, and we should not be aiming towards that. The better way, that is how risk management is done, that we have to perform risk mitigation. And there are several ways of doing that, right? You reduce the risk, which is like mitigation of the risk. You bring it to a level where it becomes acceptable,
Mhm.
and you are also allowing at the same time company to perform their business functions, and security is an enabler in that case. The second is that you can think of whatever residual risk is there, you can think of transferring the risk. Transferring means that you either buy an insurance if some security incident happens, or if you can transfer the risk to some third party. That is another form of risk management.
Yeah.
And yeah so yeah, and any risk that is still left thereafter, what you can do is you can implement monitoring in your company, which means that any security incident or an event that happens thereafter, after you have implemented all your security controls and practices, if there is some risk that is still left, then you do monitoring on it, which means that you have some kind of a incident response plan or a procedure within your organization, which allows you to do 24 by 7 alerting and monitoring on security incidents. And that is how that's a very good strategy. 100% risk
Mhm.
mitigation is not possible, should not be done.
Practical. Yeah. What is your biggest security nightmare, which you would never want to happen?
See, security, for every security practitioner, for every security officer, our primary aim and goal is to keep our organization, our data as secure as possible, and prevent security incidents. So, most of the security practitioners, as well as security experts, will agree with me that our primary goal is to improve the security posture of the company that we work for, as well as improve the security awareness, right? And why we do that? We do that because we want to reduce probability of security in the environment. So when we say what is a nightmare, I would like to rephrase that question by stating that what is my biggest priority and what should be my biggest priority, and what is that I get concerned the mostly about, and that is about reducing the probability of security incidents happening in our company, in any company for that matter.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So this question was primarily on behalf of a lot of these young leaders who will be seeing this, uh, because people in the a very early stage of career, I'm not sure, you might have or might not have faced it, but they are very obsessed about getting things right and getting things right 100% done. They fail to balance between what is possible, what is achievable, and what is not achievable, and making up or ending up making the promises or setting SLAs so low that it gets impossible to achieve that, and setting your OKRs so aspirational that again it's impossible to achieve. Yeah. So okay, all right, so we'll move
Just
to
to that aspect,
yeah.
Sukant, I wanted to mention that for that, so that you can put your resources at the right place, you have to identify the risk properly, and then have to do some kind of a prioritization. It's just that a blanket statement that yes, we shall be able to reduce all the risk is not appropriate, or not suitable comment to make, in the sense that we have to identify all the risks that are there present, and perform a proper risk management, and then when we have to perform a risk management, we have to also prioritize the risks that have been identified, so
Yeah,
that I can put. We don't have infinite resources. No one does. I so that I shall be able.
absolutely.
If I prioritize, I shall be able to put my best resources to the risk that I have prioritized for myself, or for the scope
business.
that I have worked for.
Yes, yes, right. Obviously, there are a number of, infinite number of risks that are associated. You can't control every parameter.
Yes,
So,
I mean, yeah, you have to prioritize, and risk management is also about a very honest prioritization.
true. So, I had another question from someone. So, this person is a product manager, right? So he wanted to understand do you think is the role of a product, or does product anywhere fit in the information security like other engineering functions?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a very good question, and we as a security team or a security officer within an organization, we cannot become successful till the time we work in a collaborative manner with all the product managers in the business. As I mentioned in the beginning of this conversation, that as a security officer, as a security team, we have to understand the businesses well. We have to understand the product well. In
Yeah.
addition to that, we have to understand what are the practices that our product managers are following. And that is where we have to have the presence of security. Now, the concept of security now, I mean, security has been for quite some time, is to shift it to the left. Shift it to the left means from the time that we have started to work on a product, from the time that we have started to think of a design or a conceptualizing a product or an application for the organization, we have to bring security right there. Now, this is the concept of
Yes.
DevSecOps, right? And
Yeah.
as part of the DevOps, I'm trying to shift security towards the left, as compared to when the product is just about to get shipped or is just about to get into production. I'm bringing security at that checkpoint where I'm trying to perform some kind of a security assessment after all the design, conceptualizing design, as well as coding has happened and implementation has happened. That
Mhm.
is not the right practice. This is where a lot of such practices we have to follow as a security team within the organization, to work with the product groups, product managers, to understand all the new initiatives, present business practices, applications, and all the practices related to development. What are the practices on development side, and shift security to the left, which means that
Yeah.
security has to be part of design, security has to be part of coding, security has to be part of building, it has to be part of the entire CI/CD pipeline. It has to be
Mhm.
part of the entire DevOps process. And then we also have to perform due diligence, where when the product or application is just about to get used, I also perform external third-party testing, application testing on that, just to take a independent and unbiased assessment of the security posture of my product. So this collaboration is very essential to have a effective security program within the organization.
Mhm.
Where security team will not be successful if they do not understand the business practices, how product is getting developed, how applications are getting developed, and how they're getting used by our customers. That's very, very
Right.
important.
So basically, it has to be part of the initial architectural, decisioning or the stack decisioning, right? In the very early stages, when you actually start building a feature or a product, rather than after you have shipped it and then figuring out, uh, makes
Must.
sense.
It's a must. It's a must. It's a must. And there are several stages that a product or an application is present during the entire life cycle of the product. If you're talking about just we're just trying to develop a code, or even before that, there is a concept of threat modeling. We have to come up with all the threats that could that could impact the product or the application.
Mhm.
Assessment of static code of this. As a security team, we are trying to shift security to the left so that vulnerabilities or the risks are identified early in the stage, as compared to waiting until the end when the product or the application is just about to be used or shipped outside to the customer.
So Amit, so these security edge cases, is it taken care by the engineers or the developers who is building that product or feature, or is it uh, what I'm trying to say is, does the security engineers and the security information security team, they lay out the SOPs, they lay out the processes, and it is implemented and executed by the engineers, or is it also executed by the security professionals?
It's a combination of both. For example, if we have a security team, then standard operating procedures become part of the responsibility, where we tell to the developer community on what are the good application security related practices, and
Mhm.
that also includes security awareness or a training. For
Yeah,
example, when I was talking about shifting security to the left, in addition to implementing or bringing about security controls, when I mean towards the left, I was also wanting to talk about making the developer aware, developer community aware about the risk or the vulnerabilities that they are leaving behind just when they have developed that code.
yeah,
So just for example, if a developer or a person has worked on some kind of a code and they have inadvertently brought about a vulnerability in that, making the developer aware then and there when that vulnerability has been identified immediately, it makes better sense. So that the person or that person or a developer will not or shall not repeat that mistake. Okay.
right.
So when I said when you say standard operating procedure, they are always we come and we develop that as part of a regular exercise where we reach out to the developer community, where we have to reach out to the businesses and inform them about the best practices when it comes to application development. And there are definitely responsibilities associated with the product groups on how to manage that as a program. The process
Got
that we set, it is onto them as a responsibility that they
it.
manage that as a program and become accountable to to show improvement in application security field in application security space.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I have another one, coming this question is from a QA engineer. He wants to get into security, security testing. And considering, he thinks there is a huge scope going forward, given that everything is moving on cloud, right? And everything every day something is coming up that is exploiting the networks, exploiting the current softwares, etc., right? Deprecated libraries, etc. So how can he go about, so right now he's into, normal automation testing. How can he move from automation to security, and what all is required from his side to make this transition happen?
So the question, if I heard it correctly, is that there is a QA engineer who would like to change his work field or his job from QA to a security professional. He would like to get into security and understand how information
Right,
security works.
primarily security testing, pen testing or security testing.
Ye- Yeah, I mean, if you have a good understanding of how, so as part of the QA testing, you are checking all the functionalities of the application. As part of the QA testing, you're checking all
Mhm.
the, all features as such. So you know about the product really well. Now you're saying that you would like to get into security testing. So, I mean, whichever company that you work for, there must be practices, as I was saying, related to performing security checks at several stages, whether it is static code analysis, dynamic code analysis, for that matter, pen testing. Try to understand those processes and maybe look for some kind of a participation where these reports are shared with you, or maybe you are given a chance to run these application security tests yourself, so that you know how these security testings are done. Try to read through the reports, try to understand the vulnerabilities that have been identified, because when we share the report, we also share the share the remediation along with the steps that you have to take to mitigate those vulnerabilities. Try to understand the vulnerability, try to understand what kind of a resolution that has been provided, and what is that we are doing to ensure that such vulnerabilities are not repeated in the future. So these are a few things from the business point of view. For example, if you're working as a QA, try to understand this whole process, whichever company that you're working for, that what is the entire security program that has been implemented in application security space. The second aspect is that yes, there are several coaching programs. There are several courses also available which help you to understand how offensive security works. Offensive in the sense that if you want to be a pen tester, if you want to understand everything about how vulnerabilities are identified, how vulnerabilities are exploited, how vulnerabilities for that matter are mitigated, then there are several courses that make you aware and they train you, I mean, they make you aware about all such important aspects of vulnerability management within the application itself. So,
Yeah.
I mean, within the business practices that you are, as well as trying to understand whatever application practices, security practices you have implemented within an organization, try to understand that process, get involved in that process. Second is simultaneously try to work on your knowledge and learning while enrolling to such courses as such, which help you understand more about vulnerabilities and how they are identified and exploited in the wild.
Got it. Got it. Would you hire someone who doesn't have background in security and has a background in something else, but would want to transition into this role, or would you
It's a
require?
difficult one. Why? Yes. Okay. Complete yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying so. Or would you want someone, or would you prefer someone? Obviously, you'll always prefer someone who has some background about security. But if someone is really good in what he's doing right now, be it a developer or be it a QA engineer, would you consider that person for this role?
Why not? Why not? Because when I started my career, I had no background or an understanding on information security, and someone gave me an opportunity to get into information security field, and because of that, I am here where I am today. So it's just that yes, if there is a requirement, and if I'm looking for some people who are passionate about information security as a domain, and if they want to seriously learn how information security is implemented within the organization, I'll definitely consider such candidate and would like to work. I would look for passion in this case and a serious commitment to and on understanding how security works and how the person can help me improve security posture of the company.
Yeah, yeah. So, just as a follow-up on this question, would be great if you can share some light on, what made you, ending up as a security professional. So, why did you choose this as a field? And it has been a long time, right? Around 25 years we have been in the industry. What was your reason for choosing this field?
See, I was always fascinated by how systems as well as network work. I started my career in systems. I was given an opportunity to understand how systems are integrated together, where I had a chance to work on several platforms, including Linux and Windows at that point in time. And then I started my career as a system integrator. You mentioned Tata Elxsi. I was working as a system integrator, but I was working on several networking equipments, which included both routers, switches, and firewalls. And that is where, yeah, I got fascinated and I got to understand how network devices they work, how they are integrated, how they work together. And from there, I kept on pursuing for opportunities in information security space. And I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to work in this field early in my professional career.
Got it. Great, great. Thanks for sharing that, Amit. Really appreciate.
Well,
Amit, also, uh, I have also seen, there are a lot of early stage startups. We're not talking about the established enterprises. Obviously, they have set functions in place. But talking about early stage startups or who are just in the scaling phase, right? They have just raised Series A, B, and what do you think? Like what should be their focus on, or what should be their prioritization for the security? I have seen a lot of companies, that too in the fintech domain, in the financial and the banking domain. Everybody says, they have the PIA data encrypted, but nobody really, majority of them really doesn't have it anywhere. It's plain text. So, what is your suggestion for them? What's the right time to start investing or focusing on the security?
I would say as soon as possible. And I was also mentioning that security is a business enabler. And if we take time to bring security into the scheme of things, we are taking a bigger risk. We have to, even if we have to start small, we must make a beginning when it comes to incorporating right security practices. And because of all the data as well as privacy related importance that is given, or the practices that are being used, where we are collecting, or several companies are collecting personally identifiable information, and with the new laws that have been that have now come, it becomes imperative for all of us as different organizations to give right kind of importance to security of the data, where data privacy is also a very crucial field, and we have to be very careful about the data security, that the security of the data that we are collecting from our customers. So when you ask me, should we be careful if we have just started a business and are a startup, how careful we should be about security? I would say we have to bring in as early as possible, and my firm point is that security always acts as a business enabler, and it will only help you to perform your business in a secured manner.
I think the biggest challenge I see here is, that most of these startups, they don't have a lot of resources. They can't invest in a very senior folk, who can basically spearhead this entire thing, right? Entire function. And they are more worried about, that I bring in someone junior and that guy will not know how to go about it, and randomly things will be done. And then that becomes a vicious circle. You can't invest too much in bringing in a senior person. And you don't want to bring in someone junior because that person would not know what to do. What is your suggestion on that? And this is a question, that I have got from, I think, at least 4 5 entrepreneurs who have raised seed or series A, and more of a vicious circle for them.
Yes, I completely understand that challenge and a concern and the point of view. And yes, it's a predicament. Yes, it's a difficult situation to be in, where a company does not have sufficient funds, and they cannot hire a very senior person to define the entire security program and implement the same. But in this case, my suggestion is to go for consulting. Definitely look for some consulting help every now and then, to so that some people who you trust, they come in and help you perform some kind of a security posture assessment,
Yeah.
and then give
Yeah.
you an understanding of what your risks are. So even if you are relying on some lesser senior people to perform security functions for your organization, having said that, relying on some of these consulting companies and some consultants who are good at security field, asking them to come in and perform or do some kind of an audit and provide you a gap assessment, so that you know, as a third party, as an audit from a third party, what your risks are and gaps, and where the gaps are, where you can start to work on.
Right. And a lot of time, even they get, because I think for ISO and there are certain compliance, you need to get this auditing done, pen test, etc. People even get this done, but they never prioritize, to fix the issues or fix the gaps that has been pointed out with these third party companies. Because for them, building and shipping feature always takes up the priority. So
Hmm.
again, what would you say to them, for this?
I've already said, it's just that security is a critical aspect. And it is very important uh, for our business functions, for the success of our business as well, and for the
Mhm.
reputation of the company, as well as getting the credibility in the market. In the sense that we shall be able to get more customers if we are able to ship out, in
Right.
addition to better business products, more secure products at the same time. So I cannot emphasize enough the importance of
Mhm.
security in whatever
Yeah,
kind of business that we are in and whatever size that we are at. So the importance remains the same as such.
got it. Got it. What's the shift that you have seen, in the information security domain in the last 10 years, and how do you foresee, that changing or the shift happening in the next 10 years?
The shift has been from the time that I started. It was basically we were working inside a perimeter. We had some kind of set boundaries to work within. We were always thinking that everything that was within some kind of a boundary or a perimeter was secured enough. And I had some data center to visit where I was running my applications. and I knew what I have to protect, and there were some set rules and regulations as per which I was going about performing my job. I was more
Yeah.
about the perimeter and everything within that trusted zone. I was responsible. We were responsible to implement security
Mhm.
controls. Now, because of the borderless computing as well as cloud coming into the picture, now there is absolutely no boundary that is defined, and people are working from everywhere across with remote office locations as well as work from anywhere kind of a culture. I that There is a paradigm shift as such when it comes to performing your work, as compared to the traditional approach that we were following earlier. So there has been quite a bit of change. Now we work on zero trust principle, that even though we are allowing people to connect from anywhere, they are being allowed access to only those location and resources where they must have access, and that access has to be provided on least privilege basis. Need to know means that only if you have a requirement to know, or if you have a requirement to access that resource, only then, after proper authentication, you shall be provided access. It's not
Right.
that once they become part of the network, they get access to all the resources or application across. So that's one of the major shift that has come, where from implementing security at a lesser or a smaller scale, we as security officers are now concerned to implement security at a larger scale and in a borderless kind of an environment. And it entails several domains within information security as such. Whether I was talking about initially on, we have to secure not only endpoints, we have to secure applications, we also have to secure the networks through which they are coming, which when they are sitting at home, we also have to secure the servers or the environments that they're connecting to. If they're connecting to data centers or they're connecting to any application that is hosted on the cloud, you also have to ensure the security of all of these all of these locations, and ensure that these all connections that are being made, they are authenticated properly, access controlled, as well as they are audited, that all the access that has been made, we have proper monitoring and audit controls around that. So that's what has changed in the last 10 years that I have seen in information security evolve around business practices. The latest or the most recent is on artificial intelligence, and we have just about to see how that is changing our business practices, and it will be interesting to observe and and participate in that journey as we grow and adopt artificial intelligence in our business functions. So that's
Yeah.
what actually is going to come at a very fast pace in the next few years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. And do you think this is going to remain for the next decade as well, or do you foresee uh, anything changing in the next few years or in the next decade?
Yes, as I said, artificial intelligence is going to be having a huge impact on how we perform our
Mhm.
business operations, business functions, and it's going to change. It's going to change a lot of things around us. And in addition to getting help as part of implementing artificial intelligence and machine learning into our business operations, there will be challenges that will be posed to our business functions. That is where we'll have to see how we respond to them
Mhm.
when the time comes.
Got it. So, are you guys still? Do you still, kind of using anything on the AI side, or how are you using AI as an enabler for information security in your current team, in your current role?
See, I would talk about generally in this case, artificial intelligence in security technologies has been part of them for quite some time. So, all the next generation security services, security tools, and technologies that we have implemented across, artificial intelligence and machine learning has played a definite part, where they have become more intelligent, and they have been responding better in the sense that they have been able to identify security threats faster, and they have been able to report those security threats faster, and we have been able to respond in a better way as well. I mean, generally speaking, across the board. Now, the second part of your question was that how it is going to be enabling the how it's going to be enabling in future. So,
Right.
especially we talk about generative AI. most of the companies and most of the security officers, they have started to realize the importance of generative AI in case of defense as well. In the case of security defense, several tools and technologies, several security service providers, they have started to leverage generative AI, where they have started to provide this as a service where you can interact with your security, where you can interact with your security service. You can ask specific questions and you will get immediate answers based upon the responses that you get. You
Mhm.
get a lot of intelligence, lot of threat intelligence, which gives you a lot of insights, and you are able to, as a security team, immediately respond to those threats. So that is where we are getting at. So generative AI, in my opinion, is changing, is going to change how we also implement security in defense.
Got it. Got it. Great. Sounds good. I think that's all questions that I had, Amit, for today's session. Anything that you would like to add, anything, that you'd want our audience to know? And this is in general, for there are a lot of early stage entrepreneurs that will be listening to this, and a lot of security professional, non-security professional will be listening to this. So in general, any thought that you'd want to leave with?
We covered most of the things, and I shared all the thoughts that I had initially for today, at least. But I just want all the people who are listening to realize the importance of information security, and in their business, and realize the importance of the same early in the stages. And if you are just an entrepreneur and you're starting small, as I said, that yes, also start small with information security. Always be aware of the risks that are around you in your business, and if you do not have enough resources, at least one time in a year, go for some kind of help, where you can consult with best security experts who can come and perform some kind of a security assessment for you and give you a gap analysis so that you are aware. Having a very good understanding of what your security posture looks like makes you all the more confident in your security, in your business practices, that you are secure and you are providing a secure product to all your customers to use, and it will help you in your business. With that, I thank you for your time.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Amit. And guys, this was Amit for you. And obviously, I think, we'll be sharing the LinkedIn profile and everything. You can connect with Amit later. I hope, Amit, it's okay, if everyone, they can DM
Absolutely
you and
fine.
reach out
Yes,
to you for
yes,
any questions.
yes.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So at least we'll
Thank you.
start recording for now.
Thank you.